Hello and welcome to the Moms Who Know podcast, the podcast for moms who know that when they take care of themselves, they can take better care of everyone else. At the Moms Who Know podcast, we definitely talk a lot about personal growth and development and ways that you can be a better person as well as a better mom. Before we get started with the episode today, I wanted to talk about something that might hold you back. I know that it held me back for a long time, and that was an unhealthy obsession about how I looked. I was so worried about looking good that I would do anything to look good and to lose weight and to be, this skinny version of myself, including being grumpy and not eating with my family and not having a healthy lifestyle. I knew as my children grew that I didn't want to model that for them. I wanted them to see a mom who loved her body, but I didn't know how to get there. And it took me a long time to learn to love my body and to learn to fuel it right and to still be at a healthy and great body weight for myself. I want to teach that to you because I know that you don't have to be deprived. You don't have to be grumpy and hungry to look good. And the awesome thing about it is that when you know how to take care of your body well, you are modeling real health to your kids. And that is powerful. To learn more about how to get real health into your life and to really become that healthy, happy mom that you want to be, visit momswhoknowpodcast.com/mind-body to join me in the Mind Body Transformation Live program, where you'll get live coaching, not just on what to eat and how to exercise, but on the mindset, on the things that are really going to make a difference for you long term. I'm super excited for you to learn about that. Now, for today's podcast, it's just going to be me today, and I'm going to talk to you about a concept that I learned a couple of years back called a word of the year. And I learned this from Summer Bach, who's someone I follow online, and she said that for her, she doesn't set New Year's resolutions. She just chooses a word. And I thought, that's a really interesting concept. How would that work? And I decided a few years ago that I would give it a try and I would choose this word. And I chose a word and I wrote it really big. I had it posted in a few places where I could see it. And it was amazing to me how much application that I found for that word throughout the year. And so it's something that I've continued to do for the last few years and have really found it beneficial. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I use the word that I choose. And then I'll talk about more specifics of the word that I've chosen for this year and the things that I've learned from it. So first of all, what do I use this word for? I like to post it where I can see it to remind me of my word so that it's kind of always in the back of my mind. When you have something on the wall, maybe you're not looking at it and reading it every day, but it just becomes part of your surroundings and you kind of every once in a while will glance at it or think about it. And I want this word to be something that comes up for me. I also look for this word. So I kind of keep an ear out or an eye out. I'm tuned in. When I hear this word, I think, oh, that's my word. This has special relevance for me because this year I want to learn how to apply this word and what it means for me. I read books that have to do with my word. So I started this year making a list of, what books are really going to help me to learn about this word this year, and have worked my way through that list and learned many different things from many different people about my word. So that's one thing that I do. I also want to learn about my word from God. And so whether my word is what you'd say like a spiritual word like faith or something along those lines, even if it's not, I want to see what do the scriptures say about this word? What can I learn in that context about this word? I listen to podcasts that have to do with my word. I also have written mantras about this word. So let's talk a little bit about the why behind this. Why choose a word for the year? Now, one of the things that I've never liked about New Year's resolutions, because for me, this takes the place of New Year's resolutions. It doesn't necessarily have to, but that's the way that I've chosen to use it. New Year's resolutions, I like looking forward and seeing what's going to happen that year and planning it out. But I feel like New Year's resolutions are really hard to stick with. We all know that. But it's because, a lot of things change over the course of the year. And so for me, if I'm going to set goals, I want them to be shorter term goals because I'm able to stick with them. I'm able to reevaluate a little bit more. Instead of setting this long-term goal, it gets really hard to stick with it. And there are things you can do to make sure you stick with it. But for me, that's one of the reasons why I really like this whole concept of choosing a word. Another thing that happens with New Year's resolutions is we can feel like we failed. We didn't do it all the way. We didn't accomplish what we wanted to accomplish. And so sometimes there's that element of failure. And with choosing a word, I like it because it's very adaptable. So what choosing a word does is it helps you focus your energy and your attention on one aspect of your life, but it allows you to adapt what you do with that concept, with that understanding throughout the year. So as your life shifts and the circumstances of your life shift, you're able to see that word in a different way. And really having that word to look at allows you to see your life in a different lens. At least that's what it's done for me. I really look at things differently as I think about this word that I'm learning from and what it means and what everything around me is trying to teach me about this one word and this one concept. So for me, choosing a word really creates a vision of my life, of what I want it to be, of things that I want to work on in a way that is not threatening, but is really encouraging to me and encourages and moves me to action. A lot of times, the words that I have chosen over the past few years that I've done with this have been verbs, and they are kind of a way that I want to do things. So some of the words that I've chosen in the past, I had the word accept was one of my words. I had the word simplify, and my husband has chosen words that are more along the lines of identity. They could go complete the sentence, I am blank. Really any word will do. But my word for this past year is abundance. And at the beginning of this year, I sat down and I wrote a few things. What does abundance mean to me, and what do I want it to mean to me? And so these are some mantras that I wrote about abundance. There is enough and to spare. I am generous with my resources because I know there will always be more. I have an abundance of money. I have enough for all my needs, enough to help others, and money to spare for the things I want. I have an abundance of opportunities. God has given me things to do for my personal development and to help others. I have an abundance of love. I have great relationships. I don't feel threatened when I see other people doing things without me because I am content and secure in my own loving relationships. I have an abundance of hope. Good things are in store. When I have a bad day, I can let it go because I believe in good things to come. I have an abundance of faith. I don't have to understand everything right now. I trust God and know that His promises are sure. So that is what abundance meant to me and why I wanted to focus on it. Now, I want to be very clear that when I wrote those things, that doesn't mean I had those mastered. In fact, looking very specifically at the first one, I have an abundance of money. I can tell you that when I wrote this, I was not feeling like I had an abundance of money. In fact, the way that my husband and I spoke about money was more along the lines of, oh, we don't have enough money. man, why are things always so tight? And really this fear around money. And that is what I wanted to change. And so I started by changing my thoughts and my words into a person who has money. Now, later on in the year, I learned from Christian Mickelson a little mantra that he says. And he shared an experience where he went to a restaurant and he was overcharged for something. He was sitting at a table with some friends and they were overcharged, and some of the people were getting upset. Oh, they charged us too much for this. And one of the men at the table said, "Thank goodness I'm rich." And he was really struck by that, like, wow, thank goodness I'm rich. I'm going to use that. And so my husband and I have started to really use that when we have little unexpected expenses, or sometimes big unexpected expenses, because things come up, right? And we don't expect them to. It is so powerful to say, well, thank goodness I'm rich. It changes everything. You get this tax bill in the mail. Thank goodness I'm rich. I can still pay it and eat. Maybe you're going to have to scrape by and eat Hamburger Helper or whatever it is for you. But thank goodness I'm rich. We have so much, and that is what the word abundance has really done for me this year, is to help me recognize how much I have. Like I said, before doing this word, that wasn't how I was feeling. I was feeling more of that scarcity. I was feeling like it's so hard to get ahead and this real struggle. But focusing on abundance, number one lesson that I learned was gratitude, because I came to recognize abundance. In this country, and I know we have listeners all over the world, but most of us are living in a place of abundance where we have enough food to eat, we have clothes, we have shelter, we have all the things that we need, and we are living an abundant life. That just recognizing that changes everything, because as soon as you recognize that, you don't feel in this place of need anymore. You come from a place of gratitude, and when you come from a place of gratitude, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, blesses you with more. Now, another lesson I learned is that abundance is about so much more than money. So I mentioned Christian Mickelson at a conference that I went to with him. He talked about the 4 ways that we can have abundance in our lives. So those are time, health, money, and love. And one of the ones that really stood out to me, in fact, if you have been listening for a while, you may have heard the podcast I did on time. If not, you're welcome to go back and check that out. But one of the things that he taught was that we all have the same amount of time, and to let ourselves know, remind ourselves, I have an abundance of time. When we recognize our abundance of time, we use it better. We're grateful for it. We don't feel frantic and in a rush and in a panic that we just don't have enough of it. We realize that we have enough of it. Health and love are interesting ones to think about in the frame of abundance, because some of us don't have great health, and yet there are things that we can all do. So if you think of someone who is really sick, maybe they're bedridden. I'm going to use myself as an example. When I was early in my pregnancy with Carter, I was so sick with morning sickness. All I could do was lay around. If I tried to cook anything, if I tried to go grocery shopping, I was throwing up all over the place all the time. It was terrible. So I didn't feel like I had health abundance, and yet I could still read a book. I could still listen to a podcast. My body was going to recover because my body was strong. There are lots of ways that we have health abundance, and we can think of those. I heard a story, and I can't remember who said this, but there was a woman who had some very serious health challenges, not just a temporary health challenge like I had. And she had a lot of things that she couldn't do, but she made a list called her can-do list, and she focused on the things that she could do. That is recognizing your health abundance. Love is another one where sometimes we can say, my marriage isn't going well, or I'm not married at all, or I'm really struggling with a teenager and I'm not feeling love from my parents or my kids or friends. However, if we turn it around and we focus on what's good and we focus on those people and how we can serve them, we'll start to have that same shift in our mind, that abundance. I do have an abundance of love to give. And when I give that, wow, an abundance of love comes back to me. And that's a powerful thing. So that is the other lesson that I learned about abundance, is changing the way that you think about all of the things that are around you and recognizing that there's an abundance of all of it. Now, some of the lessons that I learned about abundance came from things that I read, and I'm going to give you a few quotes. Some of these are scriptural, some of them are from books that I read. So just a few here. The greatest abundance comes from God. He gives the faithful exceeding great and precious promises. We prosper by degrees. Sometimes the abundance comes a little at a time. Michael Hyatt said, gratitude moves us into a place of abundance. And this one of my favorites, you will never have more of what you want until you become thankful for what you have. Now, this word has been awesome for me. It's been a great teacher. And I want to just encourage you that if this is a concept that you want to try, think of a word that can teach you. There's so many things that we need to learn, and I chose abundance because I felt like there was something there that I needed to learn. There are no real rules around this. You can really choose any word that's meaningful to you. And there's also no rules about how you use it. I've given lots of examples today about how I use my word, but it doesn't have to be the same for you. You might choose a word and just have it running in the background of your mind. You might do this totally differently, but if this resonates with you, then I encourage you to give it a try and let us know how it goes. It's always fun to have a conversation and to hear other people doing similar things as you. If you do choose a word, come on over to Instagram and let us know what it is. And thank you again for listening to Moms Who Know. You can get the show notes at momswhoknowpodcast.com and more information about Mind Body Transformation Live at momswhoknowpodcast.com/mindbody.